Hello and welcome to another episode of Table Talk with
Kathleen Mercury
and
Nils Herzmann.
Very good. Today we are talking about Qwinto.
Qwinto.
Qwinto, I guess. I don't know, but
We argue.
it's from a German publisher, so I'm probably on the right side.
Probably translates to like hide of the boar or something like that in German or something.
All right. Do you want to take the rules or should I do?
I'll take the rules.
Okay, good.
So Qwinto is a game that you score points. And you can see on the scoring pad, there is the red row, the yellow row, and the blue row. And how you place numbers here will indicate where you score points below here. And of course, if you can't place them, you get Fellwürfe, which is a 5-point negative point value. So what you do on your turn when it's your turn, you can choose which dice you want to roll. If you roll the purple, then you can only place whatever you roll in the purple row. But if you take two of them, if I rolled these two dice, I could place in either the orange row or the purple row. And of course, if I do all three, then I can do all three. When it's your turn, you can roll the dice. And if you don't like them, you get one re-roll. But after that, you must place. So with the 7 here, I could choose to place that 7 in any of these cells here or any of these cells here. As the game is played on, you'll notice that there are some hexagon spaces. And on those hexagon spaces, when you have completed a row here, the number in that hexagon goes down there in that space. I'm sorry, right there in that space. And then you can see where there's the 5 other hexagons, they get filled down there below. An important note about placement is if I place a number, let's say this 7, if I write the 7 in this row, in this cell right here, I cannot write a 7 here, I cannot write a 7 here. So you have to be careful about placement, especially in this middle section, or really all of it. But you have to be careful where you place because you might accidentally put down numbers that prevent you from filling in spaces. When you finish an entire row, every cell is filled in. The number in that last section is your score for red. And then if you manage to do that also in another color, then that score goes down there. If it's an incomplete row, then you will count the number of filled cells that you have, and that's the points that you score there. So your points are based on either the number of cells, if it's incomplete, or the total, the highest number here, which for the color. And then those hexagons on the little pad, fill in those spaces. You subtract your Fellwürfe, right there, 5 points each, and that's a pretty nasty swing. And then your final point there goes right there. And winning scores tend to be somewhere around the 60-point mark. And one other point to make is that when you place numbers, and this is a big point, they have to ascend. So whatever number you start with here, every number has to be at least one number higher. So if you start here with a 17, that is a terrible decision. But if you start here with a 2 and then a 3, you can go 5. You cannot place that 4 there. They have to be placed in ascending order.
All right, thanks so much for the rules. And now let's take about the components and all the stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, for the components, what can you do wrong with a game for $10?
Right.
Technically nothing more.
Well, even the pencils have little erasers, which is kind of nice considering that they could just put in little pencils.
And you use it a lot of, right?
I do. I make mistakes all the time, and I'm very okay with that. So it is nice. I mean, they're so freaking adorable, tiny little pencils. Just, 3 different multicolored dice, whoop-de-doo. Probably the biggest trouble with the game is this the little pad that comes for scoring because it's color, and the colors do matter. And once you exhaust the game, this little stack, then you either have to make color copies, and I don't know how easy it is to buy more of these little notepads. So,
and just to let you know, just for playtesting, we get 50% just for playtesting out of this.
Right.
Block.
So that's kind of a big thing. I'm sure somebody at some point may upload one online to BGG or something like that. But even if they don't, what are you going to do when you run out? You're crying. You have to make color copies.
Yeah, technically, I think the idea behind the game is you pay $10 for a box, and when you're over with this one, the game is over.
Fair enough.
I'm pretty sure that's it.
And then you have little pencils to take to the golf course.
Or they are done as well at that point. Probably not. So I see your point, and that was my gut feeling from the first time as well. I thought, hey, what is in the box? There's a bunch of paper, little nice pencils, and 3 dice. That's it.
But I don't feel like you should be done with this after, even for $10. That, you know, if there's a game like this that's so simple with dice and pencil, this should be easy to, I mean, yes, you can make copies. They can be black and white. You can figure out the colors. It's not a huge big deal. But, you
could take a marker, too.
Right. Colored pencils, pastels, oils, if you want to be fancy, right? But, so fancy. But no, I think for me, that's a big thing. You know, like, at least, you know, some other way, it's not a big thing, actually.
Yeah,
but
on the other hand, let's assume there are 50 or 60 pages on it. So let's assume you play that with 4 players. 60 pages is 15 times.
Right.
So when you play this game 15 times and it's $10.
Right.
So it's what is it? Below 10 cents per game.
Right.
So,
Yahtzee's not for life. This isn't for life either.
So I think when you price in that one, then it's fairly priced, more than fairly priced.
Sure. For the price, yes, but for a game, you wanted to have a little bit more longevity.
I'm totally on your side because I argued exactly the same with myself. Always when I thought about the game, do I like it or do I like it not, or is it a no-go for me?
Right.
Is it or is it not? I don't know. I mean, throwing away stuff after you exhausted the papers, that sounds wrong for me.
Right. And I mean, I wonder if the publisher even makes, you know, like files on the website where you can print and download them, but then if they do that, they're basically giving away the vast majority of their games, so probably doubtful. So, but that's, so...
Probably you can buy one of these for $3 or $4.
In Germany.
Yeah. If it's published in the US,
hop on a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I think when you import it, that importing tax is not the terrible thing. I think shipping is a terrible thing.
Right. So for $35, you can get this, you know, €10 game and everybody's happy. So huzzah.
Sounds awesome.
Done.
Sounds good for me.
I'm going to start selling games in Germany then if that's the case. I wouldn't say it's like the fancy Mysterium or Polish Mysterium or Polish Mad King Ludwig. Probably not worth paying the imports and shipping on this one. Maybe the way for those for the artwork.
Maybe as a filler.
It's a nice filler though.
Yeah, but let's talk about the mechanics for Qwinto. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, not component-wise, but fun in this tiny little box. So the mechanics are simply, when you roll the dice, you always try to push your luck in and fill it out perfectly.
Right.
Try to fill it out when you're not the active player as many cells you can.
And what I like too, especially, is with the little blanks there in the middle on the score sheets, it makes it kind of a challenge, especially in this middle section, which is clever because these are the most commonly rolled numbers. You know, for that mid-range of numbers, to make sure that you have things placed so that you don't accidentally make it impossible for you to fill a roll because of how you've got other numbers. That happened to me in one game. I wasn't paying attention, and I placed a number, and that meant that 2 different columns I couldn't put anything in because I'd already used that number. So I think that's well done as far as that goes, just to make it add a little bit of a challenge to it, especially if you have a lot of mid-range numbers.
Yeah, just where you're talking about that, it feels always like a little bit of a puzzle for me, right?
Right.
So
yeah,
where does this little piece fit in perfectly?
Right. So in our last game we played Nils, there was a lot of low rolls, and you closed out your card really quickly, and I didn't because I hadn't placed
conservative gamer.
Right. I hadn't placed as many of the lower rolls, and that was because of where I'd placed some numbers at the start of the game. So it is kind of interesting as the game plays out how you do it. We found that when we played, we tended to put a shield or something up in front so that it's a little bit more secret, because otherwise, especially new players with the students, you know, they're kind of seeing where we put things and no, make your decision. So I would say I would add that to the game.
I will definitely add that I had so much fun. So I played it roughly so far more than 10 times, more than 12 times, I would say, in totally different, with your students, with my gaming groups. I played it with so many different people, and honestly, everybody said, That's a cool filler. It's a cool one.
Yeah. And in our lake house, I would play Yahtzee all the time before I got into good gaming. I would beg people to play this. So
Say before you're going into the gaming. So I would not consider Yahtzee as a game.
Well, but this was before I got into cool gaming, and Yahtzee was started on a boat, so there you go. But no, I definitely like that. If you like the idea of rolling dice, being able to make choices about where you put them, having some like stress and tension there, it's good for that. I love that there's like shame points. You know, if you're not able to play something when it's your turn, then you get Fellwürfe. It's terrible. -5 points. The shame. You know, so it's like it's like you should have thought better. You should have planned better. You should have placed your dice differently. You're like, oh, come on.
And -5 is actually a lot of minus points. It's a huge penalty.
It is a huge penalty if you can't fulfill it, considering how you score points with the hexes and then filled rows. So
yeah, usually the winner has roughly between 60 and 70 points.
Right.
So -10, for an example, is a big deal.
Yeah. If you get more than one Fellwürfe, I don't know if it's looking too
You
good.
like it, right? Fehlwürfe?
Oh, I love the word Fellwürfe. Yeah. What does it mean?
Fehlwürfe?
Yeah. What does that mean?
Errors?
Yes. I should have a necklace made that says Fellwürfe.
In the US, you don't have this word. They are clumped out of 3 different separated words all in one.
Well, in American, it would probably be like, try again next time, happy smile. Whereas this is like, you made a mistake. But it's cool. I like that. I'm fine with that. So, and I like that, the start player can choose to re-roll, and then other people don't have to. I think that's a nice thing, too.
That is my favorite on the active player must fill it in, and all the others may. So, therefore, obviously you want to fill in every single number, but when you are acting differently than the other players and fill out different cells and using a different strategy, I usually take the conservative and low numbers, and when the other one's rolling high and 18 and I have no more space, so I say, okay, go with your 18, be happy. I take my just one die and screw all of you up.
Right, and the other thing, too, that's kind of nice is everybody gets to do something every turn. In some dice rolling games, people roll the dice, they do their thing, they roll the dice, they do their thing.
No downtime.
There is none, whether you're filling it up on your card or somebody else, otherwise this game would be too long. So that is nice that you have the opportunity to decide, should I place this and try to push towards the end of the game, there's a little bit of that push your luck element to it, or should I wait and try to get a more optimal roll. So I think that's good.
I think that's more than you can say about the game. So I think you're here. We are really on fire for the game, and therefore for me is Qwinto a high recommendation. I would love to see that some publisher in the US pick that game up and bring it to the market,
It's
because
pretty
I see a high potential for this game. What are you doing?
I'm dropping the dice. Wait, hold on.
So come on, give me your points for
I rolled 14. I think it's a nice filler. I would like to see if it came over here so that you could easily double the size of this notepad and do a slightly bigger box, and you would get a lot more plays out of it. I like that. I would definitely.
Good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I would recommend.
Publishers listening.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm on fire, but I have enjoyed every time that we have played it, and for a filler, it is a good one. Because some people like to do something every single time, and if it's a dice game and they can't do that, then they're wandering away, and that's no fun.
Okay. That was our talk about Qwinto.
Qwinto.
Nürnberger Spielkarten Verlag, by the way, is NSV standing for, but you know that, right? And I would say see you next time with
Kathleen,
Nils, and Cyrils Brettspiele. Bye bye.
Tschüss.